George, are you live on the call? I see him logged in, but I don't know if he's having an audio issue. The number and email you can reach George at. Well, George's email is george@roddy.com, but if you use the email address that is ftcvips, that's VIPS, at gmail.com, that goes to both me and George instantly. Do I recommend having more than one appointment set if we need me to go with you for the first time? Yeah, it's going to be hard to set an appointment on the phone off the initial call and have me there. I recommend you set the appointment, and then if between me, George, and the people on our power team, someone should be able to be there, and if not, it's always easier to reschedule an appointment than to try to book multiple appointments, because then it feels like they're dealing with the cable company, and nobody wants to deal with the cable company. Yeah, Chris, I'm going to talk about that. That's a good point. A lot of you guys have been sending me direct emails with questions or text messaging or calling me. If you're going to text message, call, or email me directly, please make sure it's about a specific property. If you have general questions, you need to ask those general questions inside the, and it helps me respond to questions. Let me see, I'm going to get rid of this video of me. Hang on. Yeah, audio was messing up there for a second. This should get better. I closed a couple screens. So the email address to ask questions isn't as important as asking the questions inside the portal, because we get hundreds of emails a day, and you don't want to get lost. You don't want your question getting lost, but also other members and other students will see your question. They'll learn from your question. Sometimes they will answer your question, and it's better for a dialogue. So when you have a question, I really need you guys to ask the question in the portal. There's a Q&A forum, and there's also below any module, there is the place to type a question, because then it's easy for me, and I can come in here like I did this week, and I can start answering the questions that you guys have. And so then I can do it all in one place instead of having to reply to 15 or 20 emails. Because if you send me an email, that isn't about a specific deal, you are less likely to get a response in a timely manner than if you post it in the portal. So I'm taking you inside the portal. In this Ask the Expert Q&A, it's very underutilized. You guys can come in here and create conference call suggestions. There's a deal board, Q&A on different modules. And this is where we really want to gear and steer the questions so that everyone benefits from them, and so that George and I have a central place to ask and answer questions. Next question. When wholesaling a low equity property to a buyer, how do you prevent the due on sale clause in the mortgage docs? Well, you don't. It's all about disclosure, and it's all about risk. Now, it is possible that the mortgage company could call the note due. Carlos, I'm really the wrong person to ask on that one, because George is the resident expert on that. I don't actually.
Tim, what am I the resident expert at?
Oh, there he is. He's asking about when you're wholesaling a low equity property, how do you prevent the due on sale clause from being invoked?
Okay. All right. Can you hear me all right? I don't have my...
I can now.
Okay, good. So to answer that question, who asked that? Was that...
Carlos.
I'm looking at... Let's see. Okay. Well, to answer that question, there's no way to avoid the lender calling the loan. I mean, it's just... if they want to call the loan, they're going to call the loan if you do this type of transaction. What I found is there's ways to minimize the likelihood that they'll call the loan. And one way to minimize that is let's just pretend that Tim is the seller and I am the buyer, or the assignor or wholesaler. And so, Tim, I'd go to you and say, Tim, I'd love to buy your house, but my cash offer price, and Tim owns a $150,000 house, and I'm willing to pay him $100,000 cash for that house, and he wants $130,000. And I'd say, Tim, I'd love to buy your house, but if you want me to make you a cash offer, close in 2 to 3 weeks, my cash offer is going to probably be $101,000. And he's like, well, that ain't going to work. And so I'd say, okay, how about I can pay $130,000 though. I want you to know before you kick me out of your house, Tim, I can pay $130,000. But the only way, Tim, I'm going to be able to pay $130,000 is to take over your payments and start making your $1,200 monthly payment. And what I'll do is I'll give you $3,000, at closing. So essentially, what I'll do is, Tim, I'm not going to necessarily buy your house. What I'm going to do is my family trust I'm going to set up a family trust that buys your house, and I'm going to name it I'm going to name it the Heritage Family Trust. So it gives the appearance to Tim, who owns the property, sold his property to the Heritage Family Trust number 2, and that's how I'll minimize the bank from thinking, if the bank were to do a title search and see that Tim sold his house to me or my LLC, then they would have due cause to call the loan. But if they see that Tim Heritage sold his property to a trust that is named the same thing as him, there's a lot less likability that they're going to do anything, and especially if I'm making Tim's payments. I promise you, I've never taken over a small loan, but I've never had an institutional lender call my loan when I was making payments on time. I'm talking about a 30-year traditional mortgage, not an investor loan with a big bank. I'm talking about a big institutional loan. So that was 14 minutes to answer a two-sentence question. But anyway, I hope that made sense.
It does. And he says it does. So, Uriel, you're saying you find it difficult to estimate repairs at a home such as roof, foundation, etc. How can you get better educated on this? I mean, what's difficult? I mean, I would imagine the reason you find it difficult is you're trying to make it an exact science, which it's not. But when you say how can you get better educated on it, you can practice. You can go look at more houses. That's a great way to get better educated. You can get people like Chuck Emmons at the Roddy Roundup. You can pay him for a property evaluation. And you can dig into the modules that talk about what to offer and estimating repairs. That's just my quick list of 5 or 6 ways to get better educated.
Yeah, I would say practice makes perfect. I mean, just like with anything, you just have to get the reps underneath you. So, Uriel, I would say go look at 20 houses. Go find 20 houses, and I don't know what. Here's what I would do. I would take a roofer to lunch. All these roofers, they eat, Uriel. I would take a foundation guy to lunch. Tony Klein, or Tim, who's your guy?
Steve.
Who's your foundation guy?
Steve Sutherland.
Hey, okay, I didn't hear that, but I'll post. We probably should post some of these vendors on here under the resource center where you're at, or kind of helpful resources. So I'll post a couple of those this weekend, like roofers that I would recommend you call, and then just say, I haven't asked them, but I'm sure that if you wanted to take them out to lunch and buy them a $15 burger or something, they wouldn't be opposed to it if you're in their backyard. So that's what I would say, because that's what I did, is I took a lot of people to lunch and picked their brain for 30 minutes to an hour. So anyway, something to think about.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
What question are we on? Because I'm just going to follow your link, because I came in 10 minutes late, so I didn't know. Are we at Hey guys, can you hear me? Hold on. I don't know if if we lost him or not, but I can still see your questions.
Yeah.
And all right, so yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not being able to hear you.
How about now?
Okay.
Okay, you guys, we're on Chris Phelps' question. How do we establish urgency with an investor on the phones, in person, when you found a deal?
Got it.
The investor should have their own urgency. You don't really have to establish it. I mean, and that's if you have a good deal. If you don't have a good deal, then there's probably not going to be any urgency because they don't really want to buy it. That's kind of my take on that. George?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's some, everybody's going to have their own, processing time. I think, what I've heard some people do is kind of do the open house theory, where you try to, you try to put everybody in there, and hopefully one person likes it or two people like it, and then they start working off each other. But it doesn't really work out that way all the time, or most of the time, to get everybody over there from 3 to 4. But at the end of the day, I mean, just say if you got a deal. I mean, kind of like it doesn't happen that often, Chris. So where you get 14 people. But if it's an attractive area, you're not going to have to. You don't have to create the urgency. If you put your pop together correctly, it should be gone pretty quickly. I mean, so I don't. I always laugh when somebody says this thing won't last. That's the kiss of death when any agent ever puts. And I've never had. I always think it's funny because it's just bad karma to say this deal won't last long. Once you say that, it's pretty much the opposite is guaranteed. So basically I say, hey, this is a good deal. I don't think it will last long, but that's just my humble opinion. So if you have an interest, give me a call. But you know what? You'll start getting a reputation and, for bringing good deals, and they'll know that you're not jacking around and you're not just kind of puffing up your chest. You've got good deals. They usually don't last long, and people get it. And you might just mention that every once in a while. Hey, or, Chris, what you could do is, down the road when you do wholesale a couple, put in there, how long did it take? Here's the one on Vickers. It took 24 hours. Here's the one on Diana. It took 10 hours. Here's the one on Smith Street. It took 30 minutes. We're just letting you know, don't be mad if the deal is gone. We're blasting it out. We're letting you know. First person who brings us non-refundable earnest money is going to get the deal.
Yeah, and I mean, Chris, you say so. In other words, the houses should sell themselves. My answer to that is yes, as long as your numbers are accurate and you put together a good pop. But yeah, they definitely sell themselves, and people will forward it to other people. But you do have to have a way to market it. I mean, you do have to build an email list. You do have to put it out on websites. I mean, they should sell themselves because you actually put them in front of people, not because you put it under contract. Okay, Carlos says he set up one website that includes pages for buyers, sellers, private lenders. Should I have set up one website for buyers, another website for seller, and another website for private lenders? Carlos, I'm going to be as blunt as possible with you, buddy. I don't know why you need a private lender for wholesaling. That's number one. And number two, inside Module 1, we teach you to set up a website for sellers and a website for buyers, and that's it. So the answer to your question is in Module 1, which it seems like you might have skipped.
I would concur.
Okay, there's like 24 other people on this call that haven't asked a question, so I'm guessing they've mastered the trade of wholesaling and have nothing better to do on a Friday when it's beautiful outside than to hear us talk. That was sarcasm, folks, directed at getting you to start asking questions. Hey, and it's cool. If you're behind in the modules, that's fine. Take your time to understand it before you go out and try to do it, because if you don't understand it, you're probably just going to mess it up. So, I mean, hey, it's good that you can admit you're behind, but at least you've asked some questions. Yeah, good question. Is there a highly recommended way to beef up your buyers list based on your experience? Yeah, and I mean, for one, have you set up your MailChimp account yet? And if you have you added any names in it? Because I haven't got a confirmation, and I'm a pretty big buyer in this area. I don't know if, and George can speak for himself. I don't know if he's gotten gotten confirmations from any of the students, but you can go to Roddy Roundups. You can go to the Lifestyles Unlimited case study that was last night. Over 300 investors looking to buy houses. And, my team, we were there collecting names and networking and talking to people, and you don't have to have a house to sell to do that. I compare it to going to the grocery store, and the thing about the grocery store in this case is the houses you're going to go look at, but you need your shopping list before you go. So you might as well network and talk to people and form some rapport for people that are looking for houses actively. Find out what they're looking for and focus your efforts in supplying them with what they need and want.
Yeah. Go to the auctions. I mean, there's 100 people in the Dallas County auction now. Some of them have money and some of them don't, but some of them at Lifestyles and at the Roddy Roundups have money and some of them don't. It's all about building up your buyers list and figuring out, just like Tim said, fill the need, fill the need.
Okay, when wholesaling and you get other calls for people with problems that we as wholesalers can't help, what do you recommend? The answer to that, without more of a specific question, is it just depends on their problem. I mean, like me personally, I don't work short sales, so if they are in a situation where they're not open to letting someone take over their payments, but they are in a position where they need to negotiate a short sale, I refer those out to people that work short sales. And that list is ever changing. As I'm out and I meet someone and they say they're looking for short sales and they seem like they're going to handle the files, I'll refer them one and see what they do with it. If they perform, they're probably going to get another referral. If they don't perform, they're probably not going to get another referral. And then so on and so forth. If they need to list their house, if they're just looking for a realtor, really, if it's in my wife's area, I refer it to her. If it's not, I look for a competent professional in the area that they are in. So the next one is, would you do anything differently in a small market like Tyler to find motivated sellers, or would you still primarily use probate, absentee owners, and drive for empty houses? I would use my strategy the exact same anywhere I was.
So Eli, that means no.
Oh, yeah.
Absentee owner, probates, drive, you're good. If there's not 300,000 people, that's okay. I talked to a guy out there that deal out there in Tyler last week. And it's just connecting. Hey, you're trying to get in front of people, Eli. Eli, you're trying to get in front of people that have just had a trigger event. So you need to be consistently in front of people, telling them who you are and what you do.
My backyard area, HEB, is already being heavily marketed by other investors trying to find deals. Area is blanketed with postcards. Should I try to find another area to wholesale? Me personally, no, because it's all about the trigger event, and it's all about when they need to sell. Is your message available, and do you answer your phone? I mean, look, I work Garland. I mean, most houses I bid against 3 or 4 other people. That's just the nature of this business in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And if you go to an area that's not being heavily marketed, you're probably not in a good area.
Yeah. Yeah, and most of these guys are going to give up. And we're not here to say that, I mean, it is business, and you're going to have competitors, and you're going to have good competitors. You got to be just as good. You got to step up your game. You got to be professional. You've got to know what you're doing, and and especially in the DFW. I mean, there's a lot of competition out there, but you know, at the end of the day, some of these guys that are bombarding, they're not going to do it consistently. They're going to do it for a couple months and then go, man, this doesn't work. And
Yep.
that's when, so anyway, I would say don't start off at something that you can't commit to every month because, 6 months. We've told, I don't know if we told you this in the training. I mean, you've not do it yet, but if you can't commit to it for 6 months, then don't do it. You shouldn't commit to anything, until you can commit to something for 6 months. So commit to it, sending out, 1,500 postcards and every month, religiously, rain or shine, whether you get one call or you get many calls, you mail out every month. And you've got a system, a method to match it. So when you set up separate websites, do I need separate business cards, one set for buyers with website and the other set for business cards? Okay, so no, I think really you could have it on the back side as looking for a safe way to earn 10%. Oh man, don't do that.
Don't do what?
Yeah, exactly. You're a little shaded. You need to get some light on you. There you go. Well,
I just got tired of staring at the other screen. Sorry.
Yeah. So now you want to stare at yourself?
I want you all to stare at me.
All right. Carlos, no. If the worst thing you want to do the front side is I buy houses, and the back side is, hey, I always need money. But are you looking for houses? So you're basically, are you looking for houses or you sell? But I wouldn't really. I'm not a big believer in cross promotion on the same business card. Vistaprint. Actually, now I'm kind of changing my thing. When you're going around saying what do you need at networking events, you need a handout and hey, have a little Vistaprint. It costs $15 and hand that out. But when you're in front of sellers, so I don't think it is a bad idea to have 2 separate business cards. But number one is networking because you're going to hand out 50 or 100 business cards to sellers over the course of a year, but you're building your buyers list. You need a bunch more buyers list cards. On the front side, it might say who you are, and on the back side, website, and on the back side it says, give me what you want. What zip codes are you looking for? Kind of what's in your wheelhouse. What are you looking for? Because like what I would say is, hey Carlos, you find me anything that's under 150,000 between 75 and 150 what I'm looking for. 75 to 150. 322. I don't like, I don't necessarily like 1-car garage, although I'll do it, but it's got to have 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. That's what I'm looking for. And at least 1-car garage.
Yeah,
and Carlos. Yeah.
Where my point on this, Carlos, is going to be the same thing that George said initially, and it's going to be, in my opinion, you don't need to waste your money on extra business cards. What you need to do is you need to carry a little pocket notebook with you, and if they don't have a business card with them, you need to just write their information down and talk with them, because you don't want to get so many investors, they get in the wholesalers, they get in the mode of, well, I'm going to use a squeeze page and a website, and I'll just point people at that. And the problem with that is then you're relying on your target customer to do work instead of you doing work. So I'd rather see you, yeah, you can hand them a business card. It can be the same one that you already had, and then what you can do is what you need to do is get their card. If they don't have a card, you need to pull out your little pocket notebook and write down their name, their phone number, their email address, and what areas they're interested in. I mean, you want to basically underwrite them like you're trying to find them a deal. You don't want to say, oh, well, go to my webpage and sign up on my list. You want to take their information home with you, and you want to sign them up on the list, so because they're leaving that meeting or event or place with other business cards, and you don't want to get lost in the shuffle. So Eileen asked if we're going to be at the Dallas auction this coming Tuesday. The answer for that, for me, Eileen, is no, and the answer for me on that every month will be no. So I don't know about George.
The answer will be no. I will not. I most likely will not be in Dallas County, Eileen. I will be at an auction, but I most likely will not be at the Dallas County auction. And your follow-up question will be, where were you? And I don't know yet. I will be at an auction, Eileen. So this month, Eileen, the answer is yes. And next month, my answer is going to be yes. I will be at an auction. It won't be Dallas.
What's your schedule look like when finding motivated sellers? Do you use all the sources for generating leads, or consider or concentrate on many, probate, auctions, direct mail, etc.? I'm going to tell you that question is really hard for me to understand, but I think I know what you're asking. Me, what I do, and this is going to be the real part of this, so just sit back and be ready to be partially offended, everybody. So many of you are taking what we teach and you're trying to do it halfway. And I just caution you about, if you're not going to commit to a consistent mailing strategy, if you're going to, I had one student in Fort Worth the other day telling me that instead of mailing all the postcards at once for the month, he likes to break them up into a couple hundred a week or a couple thousand every other week. And that's cool. If you want to do it your own way, I mean, whatever. But that's not the way you're being taught. So when you don't get the results, don't come back to me and say it didn't work, because I'm just going to tell you you didn't do it my way. The way I do it, and the way it's described in the portal, is I mail 6,000 postcards a month the first week of every month. So don't ask me in a couple months, well, what about December? Are you going to mail in December? Because the answer is yes. Just like George's answer is yes, he's at the auction the first week of every month. Maybe a different auction, but my answer is yes. The first week of every month, I mail the zip code for that month, and I mail the previous 2 months of probate, period. And it works. I've written, I think, 17 contracts this year, and we're not through the first quarter. So I might be writing 31 more next week. So that's that. You need to listen to the videos in the portal. Okay, you guys have lots of experience. We do not. That's correct. How would you talk about your experience of home buying when you have none? I just wouldn't talk about it. I mean,
yeah, I mean, I think option A is, yeah, you don't have to bring it up and say for the last 10 years, and I've bought over 1,000, because I think, I don't think, Tim, that you make that your part of your discussions and your introduction to a seller. I think people are gonna, to me, it might, they might, you never know how they're gonna react when you say something like that. So, hey, I'm an active real estate investor. I mean, that's what you need to say. I'm an active real estate investor. What I try to do, what my business model is all about is trying to figure out, how you and I can create a win-win situation, and where you benefit and I benefit. That's what I've built my business model on. So you might not say, hey, for the last 15 years, because you don't have 15 years of experience. Just kind of leave it in the present tense. What I focus on, my business model is about helping others, solve a problem, solve an issue. And at the end of the day, I've got to keep the lights on, but I also understand that you must benefit in this transaction, or we probably shouldn't do it. So, I agree with Tim that, don't talk about the experiences that you don't have, the 10 years experience, when you don't. Talk about present tense, what your goal is and what your goal should be, every day when you're talking to sellers.
Would you talk about the system instead?
Yeah, there you go. And I think it's the process. I think that's what she was asking is, would you talk about the system, or hey, here's how this is going to work. But I really believe that you should talk about, you can talk about, hey, this is what, here's the process. What I'm going to do, if you don't mind, is take a few minutes, and then I'll come back and let me go out in the car and I don't know. I mean, maybe you're putting the cart before the horse, but you could certainly, I think there's a time, Cheryl, where you do talk about the process. What are the steps? Because I think, I think a confused mind won't do anything, and so I think you're right. You're on the right track. Once you start engaging them and saying, hey, the next step is, are you guys ready to sell this house today? Because I'd like to go out in the truck, or I'd like to go out in the car, take a few minutes and come back and make you an offer. Is that okay? Would that be okay with you guys? And then once you get it under contract, okay, here's how this is going to work. The next step is, and educate them on, the upcoming steps, and that they'll feel more comfortable that A, what you're doing, and B, they're not driving in the dark, so to speak.
Exactly. So I would like to send approximately 1,000 postcards, 4th of April, South Denton zip code, 3 FLS list, absentee owner, 65, high equity. Do I see any problems with that? I don't see any problems with that, but my question for you is, are you committed to send that exact amount every month in that exact list again in 3 months? Because that's the key. The key is consistency. The key is don't fall in the trap of these students. One of the people that I thought was going to be the most successful in the first round of Flip That Contract was is kind of a friend of mine, and the reason he ended up not meeting the level that I thought he could was because every month he would change strategies. A week after the cards were mailed, he would begin just creating a new list. So I would just tell you that if you're looking at executing that strategy, and I like to see 1,000 postcards, I think that's a good strategy, you just have to understand that it may not generate immediate results. And you have to commit to be consistent. Now, you're committed for 6 months, then absolutely 100% yes. 1,000 postcards a month on a 3-month rotating schedule. You just need a different zip and a different list for May, and then another different list and different zip for June, and then in July you go right back to what you sent in April. Amen. Yes, you'll be successful. 6 months. How do you handle the damage control if you have a house under contract with the seller but cannot find an investor for it? Well, the damage control is you get a 10-day option. And the day you get that contract, you put that house on the market, and within 10 days, you either terminate or renegotiate or go solid on the contract. Again, though, I mean, I don't really worry about finding an investor because, and I never have. Now, does that mean you're going to be able to just blast it out once and, oh, la-di-da, I got a buyer immediately? No, doesn't mean that. You're going to have to put some work into it. You're going to have to drive around, like George says in the presentations on that slide. You're going to have to call the We Buy Houses advertisers. You're going to have to get in the green sheets, get in the newspaper. You're going to have to drive around the neighborhood, call bandit signs. You're going to need to network with other wholesalers. You're going to need to have a cash buyer list. You're going to need to make flyers and go to the auction. And I mean, it's not as simple when you're starting out as putting together an email and having an assignment 24 hours later all the time. You get the right house and you've got the right guy on your list, it's real easy like that. So the damage control, to answer your question, is done by properly writing the offer.
All right. Are there any other questions you guys have for us for this week? Can an investor make an offer on a house that a realtor is trying to sell, i.e. Evie Holiday?
Yes. Is there any marketing venue that you would not recommend? No. I mean, I try to market and build my list in ways that don't cost me money. Don't start running Google ads for buyers. Don't start spending a whole bunch of money until you're making money. I mean, there's this monthly event called the Roddy Roundup that's free. And every month I see my students walking around there without business cards, without collecting business cards, without engaging in real conversation with people. Instead, they're talking to other students. And that's just, I mean, that's not what you need to do. I mean, you know, you go to a meeting like the Lifestyles Unlimited case study last night, and my guy Jason, he's working the crowd like crazy. He calls me this morning and sent me his after-action report. And, I mean, he's got 3 or 4 solid leads on investors that want our current inventory, and that we're going to actually look in MLS to find them houses. Because it's all supply and demand.
Right. Yeah. That's it. I mean, bottom line is you gotta get out there and you gotta ask the questions. And you know, I don't have an issue asking questions because I know I'm going to help them. So it's kind of like if you have an antidote. You know, if you have medicine that you know is going to help somebody, you shouldn't have a problem, asking them, hey, what's going on? What's your symptoms? I might have just the medicine for you.
Yeah, and I just looked, and Lynn Andrus, who is one of the single-family mentors at Lifestyles Unlimited, is actually on this call, and she and I had a conversation the other day about the shortage of houses that they have at Lifestyles. They've got so many members that are looking for deals that they are dying to find reputable, honest wholesalers to help them find their inventory. And they don't mind paying for the houses. You just got to make sure that you're being honest and you're putting your stuff together right. Carlos, you'll need half deal assistance for at least the first 2 deals. Do you prefer me to contact you via email, text, phone call when I get a deal going? Since you're working that northern sector, you're probably going to want to contact George. And George, if someone has a POP that they need to send you or an SOS.
If they have a POP or that they want to do what?
Or a POP or an SOS that they want to send you on a deal that they got a lead on.
Oh, yeah.
How do you want them to contact you?
Send it to, I guess just send it to my email address. I mean, really, we should probably, what we should probably do is set up a, you know, an FTC just so you and I see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so just for now, just send it
We
to
should
F.
probably put deals, you know, deals at, or, you know, deals at flipthatcontract.com. If you can wire that up, you know, I would probably say that's the best thing to do.
I will wire that up this afternoon. That's what I'm doing here at home today, is working on website stuff.
So deals at, or deal at flipthatcontract.com. What do you think? Yeah. It's not deals, it's just deal.
I'll send everybody out an email with that later this afternoon.
Yeah.
Okay, you suggest probate, tax liens, foreclosure for finding leads, but that is many different ways of generating leads. Which would you start off with, or how to choose which one is for you? I understand commitment to the following, the 6 steps, or the steps for 6 months, but I cannot pursue all. That's a very good point. So if you're looking to wholesale and wholesale only, you probably don't need to start with the pre-foreclosure list. And I only say that because if they are on the famous Roddy report, they don't have a whole bunch of time. They can't sign the 30-day contract we teach you to use because they only got on George's list at day 21. You didn't get the list till day 18. And by the time you're in their house, it's probably 14, T-minus 14 and counting. So you go to them with a 30-day contract, and, you know, you're making yourself, you're putting yourself in a very complicated situation. Tax liens, definitely not for wholesaling. Those people get so much mail. You know, I'm a big probate, absentee owner-occupied guy. In your backyard. Then you just got to narrow it down, Eileen.
Hey, I'm curious, has anybody out there gone to their local municipality and tried to get code violations?
I bet that's a big no.
Yeah. Yeah, that should be your homework assignment for this week. Is go to your local municipal, you know, whatever city you're in, and go up there to the code, the standards, the property standards department or code compliance department, and say, you know, take some candy with you, take some cookies with you, and you all need to get those leads as well. Because there's not a lot of people that are working that list. Can everybody commit to doing that? I know you guys are really, you know, we're all busy, but I would say that should be your homework assignment, Tim, if you don't mind me giving them a homework assignment.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm all about that. I love, hey, yeah, and I mean, I went to Garland last week, and it was exactly the same as the month before. Well, good. That means people aren't fixing their problems, so they need to sell.
Yeah, every city has a list, you know, and it might be that they're not as, you know, you need to just kind of, you need to figure out, you know, that these.
Eli, where are you? What city are you in?
I think he's in Tyler, I think.
Okay, so if you go in and you ask for the list, they can easily tell you that there's no list. What you do is you say, I'm here to do a public records search. What I'm looking for are the public records that would contain all the code violators in the city. Because then you're not telling them that you want the list. You're telling them you want the data, and they have to give it to you because it's public record. It's not classified. Okay, Chris asked a good question. If we find a deal and market it to George/Tim's buyer list and it gets sold to one of your buyers, you take 50% of the profit. With that being said, what happens if that buyer wants to continue working with the student? If they come to us directly, do you guys continue to take 50% since it came from your buyer's list? I'm going to teach you Real Estate Investing 101. Nobody owns anyone, nobody owns any territory, and nobody owns any relationship. That being said, I use a very strong code of ethics in my business that if I meet someone through another person on a specific deal, if that person contacts me and says, hey, I want to work directly with you, I tell them that they need to go back to so-and-so. And here's why. And I'm going to use Lifestyles Unlimited as a good example. The realtors at Lifestyles Unlimited love to sell my properties because they know that if their member gets greedy and contacts me the next time and wants to cut the realtor out, they know I'm going to tell the realtor to go call the investor to go call the realtor. And when I do that, that realtor keeps bringing me new buyers and bringing me more contracts that I make more money on. If I were to cut one of the realtors out of the follow-up deal, then what would happen is the realtor would no longer bring me buyers. And one realtor at Lifestyles is named Lee, and Lee has sold 6 of my houses in the last 3 or 4 months, 6 or 7, and they're all to different investors. It's not like she has one repeat investor that's coming in here and knocking me dead, knocking them down. So the answer is if you know someone from somewhere else, that's one thing. But if you two get connected directly through a transaction, you probably want to be careful about cutting out the guy that brought you the fish because you may not have any more fish to eat anytime soon. Code violation leads. Yes, will do. Do I send the same cash for houses postcard? Yes.
Our marketing is pretty simple, Carlos. You know, let's find people that want to sell their house, whether they're a code violator, or a probate, or a pre-foreclosure, or an absentee owner, or driving for dollars and you came across a house. Do you want to sell your house? And we can pay cash, or the buyer will pay cash. That's our message.
Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, it is now 1 o'clock, which means this call is over. I wanted to say hi. I hope that you take some of this information and some of these steps that George and I are telling you about, and I hope you actually put them to use. But please don't begin to implement a strategy and then second guess it, because George and I are not teaching you theory. We're not teaching you something we did once and worked and we thought we could make a killing selling it. We're teaching you what we do day in and day out in our business to make money. So if you're going to tell me, if your intention is to begin a strategy, quit the strategy, and then tell me my strategy didn't work, please just don't even bother telling me that, because my strategy works and is working for me right now. So go do the hard work, go do the leg work, begin building your buyers list. I should be on all of your AWeber or MailChimp accounts. If I'm not, my email address is tim@dfwinvestors.com. if you're not on my list, then you need to go join dfwinvestors.com, and that will put you on my list. And then when you get my properties this afternoon, because I have 3 properties that I'm sending out an email about, you should take my properties and send them to your list. If you end up coming up with a buyer, hey, bring it to me. I'll pay you $1,000. But the point is, go do something with all this data. Go do something with all this knowledge, and build your buyers list, and then go to the grocery store with a grocery list. Don't just go to the grocery store to walk around. I'm done. George, you got anything?
No. The Roddy Roundup is April 5th, so all of you guys should be there, and networking and soaking up a little bit of knowledge. More importantly, it's to network and to find people that can help you, that are looking for deals, that don't want to go out and knock on doors and do what you do. So you guys have a talent, a skill set that people don't have time to do, so take advantage of that. And so go to Roddy.com and sign up for the Roddy Roundup in a couple weeks. What's in that mug, Tim, is what I want to know.
Oh, that's some coffee, man. I'm sitting out here. George, you've never even been to my house. I'm thinking about.
I've never been invited.
I'm thinking about getting in the pool this afternoon.
I hear you.
No,
there you go.
I've got some guys working on my house today, so I'm here. All right, guys. Until next week or 2 weeks from now. Have a great day.
Yeah. And Cheryl, it's in Addison. Go to Roddy.com, click on the Roddy Roundup, and we'll give you all the details. Thanks, guys. See ya.